any time you try to double down on one pole to the exclusion of the other, when the moderating and correcting influence of the companion pole is negated, the result is almost always pathology. So the fallacy only occurs when you somehow think that one pole is simply good and the other pole is simply bad.
Right.
And that leads to a fallacy where it's sort of a path, a slippery slope to fundamentalism, right? Where you deny a value creating capacity that's actually interdependent with your own preferred pole.
Right.
So that at least is a basic explanation of this idea of fallacies or pole absolutism or pole fundamentalism, right? And of course, skeptical non-dualists who may be watching this podcast may be saying, well, that's doubling down on duality, right? You're just like dividing up everything.
My perspective is that it's actually very dual to separate the polarities and to prefer one over the other, or to choose one and negate the other. In some cases, like the revolt of spirit against matter. And so to me, this is radically dualistic to separate spirit and matter. And so that's really, I think, what's been really important to me to recognize was, that throwing away of one side of the pole in favor of the other. And that was what I was treating as non-duality. And now there's this new perspective that I have that I say true from my perspective, non-dual is more of the uni-dual. That's a word that Tim uses that I really love, but I think it captures that unity of opposites, or that third thing where the two sides come together into something new.
Sure. I mean, within progressive spirituality, duality has become a term of derision. Right?
Exactly.
Like that dualistic, or
Separate.
somehow it's been straw man. Like that's some Cartesian dualism, right? After Rene Descartes, like we've transcended that, or we there's interesting agreement between secular fundamentalists and progressive spirituality fundamentalists about the dualism, because they're both form of monisms, right? There's just one thing, right? Either that one thing is matter or that one thing is mind, right? And so this is we can trace this absolutism, right, of either physical or spiritual absolutism.
Yeah.
We can trace it way back, but it certainly is prevalent in our current culture. But among the very few things that the secular fundamentalists and the progressive fundamentalists can agree on is that duality is bad, and I think we can overcome that with this idea of tri-unity or unity, duality, whatever you want to say it. The idea that, of course, there's only one thing, but what is that only one thing? We notice that one thing is both eternal and infinite and universal, and it's also in this process of becoming. So as we see the patterns in history, we see that there are some kind of worldviews or cultures that have a more communitarian, the parading with the whips, right, or the wearing of the hair shirt. And something similar within non-dual spirituality, the mortification of the ego. Your ego is somehow bad. When we look at those, the mortification of the body is so prudish and just like not true.
Right.
I think we can begin to see something similar with the idea that just, your body is a sacred gift. It's a beautiful thing, the culmination of 13 billion years of evolution. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, right? Same with the ego, right? The ego, you can have a beautiful, fit body that's healthy, and you can have a beautiful, fit ego. That's necessary, right? Try raising kids without an ego. It's impossible. You're in the world. So in the same way that we want that in a mature spirituality recognizes that the body is a vehicle for spiritual experience, it's a vehicle for love, and it's the instrument of our service, on this planet, then we can allow it to be sacred without reducing ourselves to it. And when it comes to ourself, I think the term ego itself is problematic because it's been used in all kinds of ways that it's just kind of whatever the bad is, we'll call that ego.
Right. But egotism gets confused with a healthy ego.
Well, sure. The idea that the self is not just something lesser. Our self is the container for our growth. People who take psychedelic substances and have an experience of ego dissolution, they're still a witness. I've had moments when I did feel like whatever the self is was obliterated, but it soon came back. And so the great truth that there's only one thing, that that we're all one people, right? That's a great truth, and we can allow for that. if we allow for the equal and opposite great truth that we're all original, that
Yeah,
we're each unique in our own way, that we have a unique
exactly.
experience, a unique gift to bring to the universe, and that the ability to hold these truths at the same time, that very activity of practicing doing that evolves our consciousness. It
Yes.
makes us more real because we grow in truth by using that technique of truth discernment.
Yeah. Unity of diversity is really what we need to move towards. Unity without uniformity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a classic phrase
And that's
to
what it
define that.
feels it feels like the evolutionary pull, at least that we're exploring